students, and welcome to our lesson. In our lesson today, we are going to focus on a problem and then on a solution to the problem. This problem is, on the one hand, acute, agonizing, and dangerous. And on the other hand, the problem is global. It's universal, as it has swept the world for ages and caused much damage. This is why the world community, people of the world that is, are urged to take serious measures, to clap together, to put hand in hand in order to tackle the problem. Now, there is no doubt that the question on everybody's lip is, what's the problem I'm speaking about? Then let us have a look at a snappy glance at this video sequence in order to discover and then describe the problem. The sequence is over now, but what is it about? It's about a young boy sitting at his table and trying to read a book, but in vain. The boy can't read. Why can't he read his book? Is it because he is short-sighted? Is it because he is blind? Does he suffer from physical blindness? From physical disability? No, certainly not. The boy here is suffering from another type of disability. It's rather psychological or moral. He is suffering from illiteracy. He is illiterate. Now, what's the meaning of illiteracy? How can we define illiteracy? What is the simplest definition of illiteracy? Illiteracy is simply people's inability to read and write. Illiteracy is seen in the video sequence as blindness. It's a word of darkness. Illiteracy is a crippling disease. It is a thief, robbing people of their freedom and of their future. Because the boy is illiterate, because he can't read his book, so he is agonized, sad, bored to death, perplexed, bewildered, and even tired of life. But is the boy here we have in the sequence a unique case? No. Countless numbers of people in every nook and cranny of the world are suffering like him, and atrociously. They suffer from illiteracy. So they lack the skills needed at work, at home, and in the community. They usually suffer from low self-esteem, from humiliation, from fear, from anger, from lack of confidence, and much more. The idea in the sequence here is that illiteracy is, on the first hand, a daunting problem, but on the other hand, it is a problem that is at the origin, that lies at the origin of several other problems that threaten people and nations as a whole. Now, the question is there a way out? Is there any escape route? What is the solution to the problem of illiteracy? Well, education is the solution, and it is the only one. But what sort of education is most needed in this case? Then let us have a look at this cartoon and then find the answer. What is the cartoon about? In the cartoon we can see a young boy who is about to take the bus to school. This is normal. It's his birthright. But next to him there is an old man, also with a school bag in hand, and is about to go to school. Isn't it laughable? Isn't that ridiculous for such an old man to go to school? Can, in general, old people receive formal education? Can they attend school? Is there any age limit for people to learn? What does he say first? He says, I'm going to learn it right this time. That is to say, the man is going to go back to school and give his life a new start. The idea is that education is the right of Mr. Everyone. Everyone can, all people that is, can go to school. All people in the world, regardless of their age, can go to school. It is never too late to go to school. It's better late than never. Even elderly people, even third age people can go to school. So adults have the right, the absolute right, to go to school and receive academic formal education. This is what we call adult education or lifelong learning. What is adult education? What is lifelong learning? So our lesson today is about, or is centered around, the idea of lifelong learning. Now, for a better understanding of what lifelong learning is, let us do this gap filling exercise. So, fill in the blanks with words from the list below. You focus on the words universal, concerns, permanent, acute, and luxury. I recommend of every student who is supposed to answer such a question or to do such an exercise to focus not only on the meaning of the word, but also on the word class. In our list, we have 3 adjectives, a verb, concerns, it can be a noun, a plural noun, and a singular noun, luxury. Let us answer the question. Let us do the exercise. Lifelong learning is education extending throughout a person's life. It must not be regarded as a. The blank is preceded by an article. What are we supposed to put there? We are supposed to put a noun and a singular noun. So the answer is, think about it, luxury. For a few exceptional persons here and there, nor as a thing which, after the relative pronoun which, we need a verb. So the answer is simple, I suppose, which concerns only a short span of early manhood. It is a, we have an article, but the blank is followed by another adjective. What are we supposed to put in the blank? Another adjective, permanent. So it is a permanent national necessity, an inseparable aspect of citizenship, and therefore should be both and lifelong. Lifelong is an adjective. After the blank, we have the word and, so parallel structure. So we have to put another adjective, both universal and lifelong. So you may have understood that lifelong learning is a new concept, but it is something needed, urgent. It is indispensable in our world today, in this ever-changing world. From another angle, lifelong learning is an attitudinal, debatable issue. Some are for, others are against. Some say lifelong learning is worth taking into account, so it has several benefits or beneficial impacts, while others think it is just a waste of time and money. It is ridiculous, it is laughable, and it is impossible for an old person, for an old man, to go to school when he is old. Then, what are the benefits And what are the drawbacks of lifelong learning? Think about it. Let us be positive and start with the advantages. Lifelong learning enables workmen to have work promotion. That is to say, to climb the professional ladder, to get higher at work, to have a higher position. If people have a higher position at work, they have better salaries. If they have better salaries, then they can ameliorate their conditions. They can improve their living conditions. So the more you learn, the higher you get. The higher you get, the more money you have. The more money you have, the more comfortable your life will be. The more comfortable your life will be, the happier you will be also. Okay? So this is the first beneficial impact of lifelong learning. Another one might be lifelong learning can help learners, adult learners who receive formal education can help their kids with homework. So they can assist and help their school children whenever they are in need of their help. Lifelong learning is something beneficial in the sense that it makes communication with others easier. Those educated learners who have received education even at a late age will find it easier to communicate with the outer world, with the exterior world, with other people, without any frustration, without any inhibition. So they have more confidence in their abilities, in their capacities. Lifelong learning also provides them with self-confidence. They are self-confident and they can do whatever they like with much confidence, and of course they can rely on themselves and be self-reliant. So the idea here is that lifelong learning is highly beneficial, but it may have few drawbacks or disadvantages. One disadvantage might be that lifelong learning might be at the expense of family life. What's the meaning of to be at the expense of family life? Means that some learners might neglect their household duties as they are overburdened, they have double tasks, they have to focus on their household chores and do their educational homeworks, if you want. They find it difficult to reconcile between household responsibilities and school duties. They are torn apart, so they are exhausted, they are tired, they are weary. Some learners may be mocked by some other people, by narrow-minded people. They can be ridiculized. Some people may make fun at them, saying that it is too late for them to go to school or to receive formal education. Those people will no doubt suffer from psychological problems. But I suppose, and this is a personal opinion, that lifelong learning is worth taken into consideration in this ever-changing world, as we have just said. It is something we have to consider, we have to think about, and seriously. Okay? Let's be practical or pragmatic and try to provide illiterate people with a practical solution. Those people who are yearning for, who are longing for, who are inhibited by the idea of carrying on their education may opt for online learning or even correspondence courses. Now, let's have a real case. Let's read the text. The text we are going to read now is a story. It's a story of a woman who, when young, was denied her right, was robbed of her right to go to school. She suffered atrociously, but she made up her mind to go to school. She took the experience. Now let's read and find out whether the experience has been beneficial or just harmful for this woman. Here is the text. Let's read it together. Ellen's story. My name is Ellen Zita, and I was born in England in 1941. I was one of 8 children. My parents made me understand that education was not important for women. It was assumed that I would marry, have children, and take care of my family. Eventually, I got married, but there was difficulty in my everyday living. I couldn't read well enough to learn to drive. When shopping, I went by the picture on the can and often came home with cat food, thinking it was tuna. I had difficulty understanding the bills. I looked for work only to be fired from 2 jobs due to my low academic skill. The darkness became even greater when I couldn't help my children with their homework, and 3 of my children dropped out of school. My growing awareness of the need to be educated caused depression, and my drinking escalated. Eventually, I began to see a psychiatrist who persuaded me to try going to school. I started at Victoria Reed School in 1987. I will be 60 years old this year. It has been a long, hard road to turn my life around. Today, I have grade 12 and have been sober for 18 years. But I couldn't have accomplished this without the incredible support from my teachers who listened to my silent heart. They lit a light in my darkness that has given me courage to share my struggles and glories with others. There's a mistake there. Today, I have written articles and advertisements for newspapers and published poetry. I am fulfilling a dream that I was robbed of as a child. There is no ending to this story, as I feel I have just begun. Okay, well, has lifelong learning been beneficial for Ellen or not? As you can have deduced, lifelong learning has been a very beautiful, interesting experience. The woman here, as a child, was denied her right to go to school. First of all, who does she blame for that? Let's come back to paragraph 1. Who does she blame for that? She certainly blames her parents. Her parents refused the idea of having a girl go to school. Possibly she also blames her society. In the eye of society, at that time, at the beginning of the 20th century, and in England, people thought that girls should not be given the right to go to school. Girls should be taught to be future wives and mothers. They should just be there to satisfy the male wishes or the wishes of the male members of society. Okay, let's carry on. I myself blame both her parents and society. This is a traditional society and people there are just narrow-minded. But was Ellen Zita cross-handed or watchful? Did she accept the fact readily without taken into account the necessity to go to school? Let us describe her life before and after her decision to go to school and receive education. Before. Before. Describe her life before the decision to go to school. Focus on the second paragraph. Take your time. Now, when young, this woman couldn't read well enough to learn to drive. Second, she had difficulty shopping. She could not even differentiate between what cat food was and what a tuna was. She had difficulty understanding the bills. Because she was illiterate, she was fired from 2 jobs. She was dismissed. She was expelled because of low professional skills. This woman couldn't help her children with their homework. And it's something terrible for her. And the result is that this woman resorted to, or referred to, or turned to alcohol and became addicted to drinking. Okay? She got depressed. She got depressed. She suffered from psychological depression. She took the experience, and now her life is different. Now, let's go back to paragraph 3. Sort out, please, a description of or ideas that describe her present life, her life after she received education. Implicitly, what are the benefits of this decision? How beneficial was it? Go through the lines and sort out things she has benefited by after she took the decision to go to school. Well, let's go to the table. First of all, Ellen Zita gave up drinking. She says in the text she was sober for 18 years now. She was more courageous after taking the experience. She was able to communicate with people, with others, or she is able to communicate with others now, thanks to her high level now, high educational level. That is to say, she has more confidence that enables her to get in touch with people in her community. And now, strangely enough, this woman could write articles, adverts, and even poems. Now, what do you think about this woman? How do you feel about her? Don't you think this is a name to remember? Ellen Zita is worth admiring. She is worth our admiration. We can only be but proud of her and people like her. She was armed with courage, determination, perseverance, and much, took the experience and excelled in the experience. She could make her dream come true. And now she is no longer illiterate. She is an educated person, and she has a better life, a happier one. Okay? So I myself think that this is a prototype, a sample that may even encourage illiterate people all over the world, in every nook and cranny of the world, to do the same, to imitate her in her experience. Ellen Zita is a name to remember. Can you think of another title to the text? Ellen's story might be not evocative. Another title might be From Darkness to Light, or From Despair to Hope, or Ellen Zita is a great woman. She is indeed a great woman, and she is worth our respect, our admiration, and we can only be proud of her. So, through this example, through this sample, we can understand that it is always feasible, always doable. It is in the reach of Mr. Everyone to go to school, to change his mind and then people's mind about lifelong learning, and then can do wonders. Okay? Now, let's come back to paragraph 2 and try to find a word meaning to convince. This is paragraph 2. Can you sort out a word that means convinced? Focus on the end of the text, the last but one line. To convince means to persuade. Now, please find a word in paragraph 3 meaning a public notice, text offering or asking for services. The answer is, this is persuade, of course. The answer is advertisement. Strangely enough, Ellen Zita could write even advertisements. Let us do the same and write. We are going to write an advert. Here is the topic first. You are a member of the UNESCO. The director gave you the following picture, title, and caption, and asked you to write an advert to persuade illiterate people in your country to attend school and give their life meaning, taste, and a new start. First of all, we recommend every student who is about to write to bear in mind that writing is a long process. It is not a haphazard process. It is regulated by certain rules. Okay? Writing requires more than a pen and a paper. Okay? Before you set pen to paper, you need to ask yourselves so many questions and go through different steps. Step 1, you have to ask yourselves a first question: what? What am I supposed to write? Here you are supposed to write an advert. Then you need to know what an advert is. You need to know about the shape or the format of an advert. An advert should have this shape, the shape you have on the screen. It is made up of a title, a catchy title, that may call the attention or capture the attention of readers. A picture, like the one you have out there. The picture can add to the text, to the body of the advert. The picture can sometimes have a strong impact or effect on the reader, as it is evocative, sometimes highly symbolic. It transmits a message. Okay? Then a caption. And what's a caption? What's a caption? A caption can be either a proverb, can be a saying, can be a general statement, even taken from the text, the subject matter. And then the logo, sometimes even the sponsor. And out there, and the principal part of the advert is the text itself. Second question you are going to ask yourselves, or you are supposed to ask yourselves, is what for? Why am I supposed to write? What's my objective? What's the function of the piece of writing? Here we are going to write in order to persuade, that is to convince people, especially illiterate people, to change their mind about lifelong learning and go to school or attend school. To persuade. So, as we have just said, then you need to have a wide knowledge and a good mastery of the techniques of persuasion. What are some of the techniques of persuasion? Here we have examples. The first technique is the use of the imperative mode. Example: hurry up and try to catch up. Never hesitate to, etc., etc. The second technique is use of interrogative form. Example: why don't you give a new start to your life? Then use of the comparative form. Example: nothing is better than breaking the vicious cycle or circle. Okay, so the use of the comparative may have such an impact, may have a strong impact on the readers. Another one is use of the superlative form. Here you have an example. Lifelong learning is the greatest challenge of your life. And finally, use of polite requests, such as, this is the example, please bear in mind that adult education is a wonderful human experience. These techniques should be used in your present writing. In order to persuade people, you need to use these and some other techniques to reach your goal. The third question, still in step 1, you have to have on your lip is to whom? Who am I supposed to write to? Who is my addressee? Who does the piece of writing appeal to? To illiterate people in your country. In a persuasive writing, you take a position on an issue and try to convince the reader that your position is correct. To do so, you should provide examples and reasons and support your case. Now, when writing, you have to put in mind the idea that you are writing to someone, okay? You can even give the opposing or the controversial idea, the contradictory idea, and argue against it. You may even give examples, okay? So this is step number 1. So ask yourselves 3 main questions. What? What am I supposed to write? What for? What's the function? To whom? Who is the addressee? Then step number 2. In the second step, you have to collect your ideas. Of course, here we are going to collect positive ideas in order to convince or to persuade readers that lifelong learning is worth taking into account. You need to transport all your ideas, even in a haphazard way, on a sheet of paper. Don't bother about whether the sentences or the ideas or the hints or the notes you have written on your paper are relevant or not. Just put them all on a sheet of paper. That is lifelong learning, enables you to work, to have work promotion. It's passport to life and a ticket to opportunity. Can help your kids with homework, makes communication with others easier, provides you with self-confidence. Virtual education is highly beneficial, promotes self-reliance. Step number 3. This is a crucial step. Now you have to scrutinize your hints or your ideas and try to omit irrelevant ideas or ideas that are hardly relevant, or even the ideas that are relevant but can't be embedded in the piece of writing, that may harm the piece of writing as a whole. So scrutinize them, go through them, and omit irrelevant ideas, and keep just the ideas that are relevant and that you can put in your piece of writing. Here is an example. Virtual education is highly beneficial. Doesn't go with the function we have here. Doesn't go with the case we have here. Step number 4 is also decisive. You have to reorder the remaining ideas. Once you have omitted the irrelevant ideas, you have to reorder the relevant ones. You have to put them in correct order or in a logical order. We have an example. Lifelong learning is a passport to life and a ticket to opportunity. We've opted for this idea. We have chosen this idea to be put in initial position simply because it is a bit general. The second one is provides you with self-confidence. As it is an opportunity, it so has some benefits. And the first one is providing the person with self-confidence. Once a person has enough confidence, he can communicate with others easier. So number 2 may lead to number 3. there is a certain link, a certain semantic link between the second and the third sentences. The fourth one is, as a person has enough confidence in his abilities, he can, of course, rely on himself and depend on no one. So you can be autonomous and help your own children yourself without asking others for help, for example, tutors. And finally, lifelong learning enables you to have work promotion, and then you speak about the financial benefits of the idea or the issue. Well, I want here to focus on something very important. I recommend students to try to beautify or to embellish or try to promote the sentences they have here. Add in some structures, for example, grammatical structures, some new expressions, some new words, in order to make it as beautiful as can be. Because writing is, in a way, a sort of work of art. Imagine that, or try to imagine that the piece of writing should be as beautiful, as convincing as can be. So try to embellish or beautify those sentences before you put them together into a piece of writing. Step number 5, it is to write your draft, the first draft. You are going to put all those sentences together. Of course, you need the title, the catchy one, the attractive picture, the caption, and just in the larger box, you have to write your first draft. Well, you can here write 2 paragraphs. A first paragraph may speak about the problem, the issue, illiteracy, as you have just described it, as a monster-like problem, as a daunting problem, as a thief, as a crippling disease, as blindness and darkness, okay? So you have to dramatize the situation, you have to exaggerate, okay, in order to have that sort of impact on the reader. Once the reader is convinced that illiteracy is a monster-like problem, you start your second sentence where you are supposed to persuade all people that the idea, though novel, though new, might be taken into consideration, okay? This paragraph is the crux of the matter of the piece of writing. It is the central part. So you have to make an effort, an extra effort, to bombard the, in between inverted commas, of course, the writer with convincing ideas that he or she can swallow on very easily. In the end, I hope you yourselves are convinced of the importance of the value of lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is a new concept in this ever-changing world, but people should not be embarrassed, should not be ashamed. They should bear in mind that it is always doable, it is always